Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Welcome to Discover Islam channel. Have you ever wondered why Allah dedicated an entire surah to the tribe of Quraysh, a people known for their pride, their power, and their unmatched influence in Makkah? These were not ordinary people. They controlled the Kaaba, they led the trade routes of Arabia, and every tribe respected them. But what if I told you that behind their success was a hidden blessing from Allah that they themselves had forgotten? Surah Quraysh is not just a historical reminder. It is a divine message wrapped in gratitude, warning, and mercy. A surah that reveals the real reason Allah protected them from famine, danger, and even the army of Abraham. And yet, despite all of this, they still turned away. So what exactly was this surah telling them? And why does its message speak directly to us today, perhaps more powerfully than ever before? Stay with me, because once you understand the full story behind Surah Quraysh, you will never look at this short chapter of the Quran the same way again. Before we start, remember to like the video, subscribe, and activate the bell so you don't miss a thing. Share this video with your loved ones, as this knowledge can literally change a life. Surah Quraysh is one of the shortest chapters in the Quran, yet its meaning is far deeper than its length suggests. Revealed in Makkah, this surah directly addresses a tribe that held the highest honor among all Arabs, the Quraysh, the guardians of the Kaaba, and custodians of the holiest sanctuary on earth. At a time when the Prophet was calling people to worship of Allah alone, this surah came as both a reminder and a wake-up call to the very people who benefited most from Allah's protection. What many people do not realize is that Surah Quraysh is inseparably linked to Surah Al-Fil. The two chapters form a single narrative. First, Allah destroys Abraham's army to protect the Kaaba, and then he reminds Quraysh of this miraculous event, urging them to worship the Lord who saved them. Without Surah Al-Fil, the message of Surah Quraysh is incomplete. And without Surah Quraysh, the miracle of Surah Al-Fil loses its purpose. Together, they highlight Allah's power, His mercy, and His expectations from the people He favored. Who were the Quraysh? To understand the weight of Surah Quraysh, we must first understand who the Quraysh truly were. Their lineage traces back to Fir ibn Malik, considered the forefather of the Quraysh tribe. But their rise to prominence began with Qusay ibn Kilab, the great ancestor of the Prophet Muhammad, who unified the scattered clans of Makkah and established the Quraysh as the custodians of the Kaaba. Through his leadership, the tribe gained control over the religious, political, and economic life of the city. Their role in Makkah was unlike any other tribe in Arabia. The Quraysh were entrusted with protecting the Haram, maintaining the Kaaba, and serving the countless pilgrims who visited every year. They organized the distribution of water to visitors, managed security inside the sanctuary, and oversaw the rituals associated with Hajj. Because of this, the Arabs respected them deeply, even during times of conflict. The sacred status of the Kaaba reflected onto the tribe that guarded it, giving them prestige no other tribe could match. But honor alone didn't make the Quraysh powerful. Their strategic brilliance turned Makkah into a thriving trade center. They developed strong alliances with tribes across Arabia, established safe passage routes, and controlled the major commercial caravans of the region. Their winter journeys to Yemen and their summer journeys to Syria brought wealth, stability, and influence. It was said that no caravan moved across Arabia without the Quraysh having some form of involvement. This combination of noble lineage, religious authority, and economic mastery made the Quraysh the most honored tribe among the Arabs. They weren't just respected, they were admired, feared, and looked to for leadership. And yet, despite their blessings, many among them failed to recognize that every advantage they enjoyed came directly from Allah, a truth that Surah Quraysh was sent to remind them of. Allah's blessings over Quraysh. Among all the tribes of Arabia, none enjoyed blessings as abundantly and consistently as the Quraysh. And Allah Himself highlights these blessings in Surah Quraysh. Their greatest advantage came from something so simple yet so powerful: the winter and summer trade journeys. During the winter months, when a harsh desert cold made northern travel dangerous, the Quraysh journeyed south to Yemen, a land rich with spices, textiles, and luxury goods. In summer, when heat made southern routes unbearable, they traveled north towards Syria, engaging in profitable trade with the Byzantines. These biannual caravans became the lifeline of Makkah, transforming it from a barren valley into a flourishing economic hub. But these journeys were successful only because Allah placed protection and respect for the Quraysh in the hearts of the surrounding tribes. While other merchants feared being robbed or attacked, the Quraysh traveled in peace. Their lineage from the custodians of the Kaaba gave them a sacred status that no one dare violate. This safety was not earned through military power or alliances alone. It was a direct gift from Allah, who made the desert tribes honor and protect them. Through these journeys, Allah provided the Quraysh with sustained provision and economic stability. Their caravans carried leather, perfumes, incense, spices, clothing, wheat, and countless other goods. As trade boomed, Makkah evolved into a central marketplace where tribes from every region gathered to buy and sell. This constant movement of goods brought wealth into the city and made the Quraysh the economic heartbeat of Arabia. Over time, the Quraysh did more than participate in commerce. They dominated it. Their influence extended across the Arabian Peninsula, allowing them to dictate trade routes, negotiate prices, and build strong diplomatic relationships. Their caravans became symbols of prosperity. Their markets set the standards for trade, and their leadership shaped the economic landscape of the region. Yet despite all these blessings, many among the Quraysh forgot that their power, safety, and wealth came from Allah alone. Surah Quraysh stands as a reminder. The comforts they enjoyed were not the result of their own genius, but the direct mercy of the Lord of the Kaaba. Connection between Surah Al-Fil and Surah Quraysh. Surah Quraysh cannot be fully understood without looking at the miraculous event described in Surah Al-Fil, because the two surahs form a single, continuous narrative. Surah Al-Fil recounts one of the most astonishing moments in Arabian history, the destruction of Abraha's massive army, which had marched toward Makkah with the intention of demolishing the Kaaba. Abraha's force was unlike anything the Arabs had ever seen. Heavily armored soldiers, advanced weaponry, and above all, the terrifying elephant at the front of the army, a creature unfamiliar and intimidating to the desert tribes. Yet when Abraham reached the outskirts of Makkah, the Quraysh, unable to defend the sacred house, simply retreated and left the matter to Allah. And Allah responded in a way that shook the entire region. He sent flocks of birds, each carrying small stones of burned clay. These birds attacked Abraha's army with incredible precision. What seemed like harmless pebbles became devastating weapons that tore through armor and flesh, leaving the entire army in ruins. The Arabs witnessed firsthand how Allah protected his house without a single sword being drawn. This event did far more than destroy an invading army. It elevated the status of the Quraysh to an unprecedented level. The entire Arabian Peninsula saw that Allah himself defended the Kaaba, and since the Quraysh were its custodians, they became people chosen, honored, and protected. Tribes who had once been rivals now approached them with respect and humility. Even the most hostile groups hesitated to oppose a tribe whose sanctuary was guarded by divine intervention. Economically, their position strengthened even more. The news of Allah's protection spread across Arabia, and the trade routes of Quraysh became even safer. No one dared attack their caravans, fearing the same divine punishment that had destroyed Abraham. And politically, the Quraysh became the unchallenged leaders of the region, not because of military strength, but because Allah had clearly shown where his favor rested. Surah Quraysh reminds the tribe. The miracle described in Surah Al-Fil was not just a historical moment. It was a direct blessing for them. Allah saved the house so they could thrive, prosper, and worship him alone. But instead of gratitude, many among them grew arrogant, forgetting the very God who elevated them above all others. The hidden message of Surah Quraysh. Surah Quraysh is only a few lines long, yet its message is one of the most profound reminders in the Quran. After mentioning the destruction of Abraha's army in Surah Al-Fil, Allah immediately turns to Quraysh, not with punishment, not with anger, but with a powerful reminder. Look at what I have done for you. Look at my protection, my mercy, my blessings. So, what are you giving in return? This surah is Allah's way of calling them back to gratitude, back to humility, and back to worship. Allah reminds the Quraysh of his favors because they had become a tribe drowning in privilege. Their wealth, safety, and respect were so abundant that many of them forgot the source of these blessings. Human beings often fall into this trap. When life becomes easy, when everything flows smoothly, when doors open without effort, we start to believe that we made it happen. The Quraysh had reached this state. They believed their business success was due to their intelligence, their alliances, or their strategic caravans. They believed their sacred status came from their lineage alone. They forgot that every blessing came directly from the Lord of the Kaaba. This is why Allah commands them clearly, "Let them worship the Lord of this house." This powerful line strikes directly at their pride. Allah is reminding them, you honor the Kaaba, but do you honor the Lord of the Kaaba? You serve the pilgrims, but do you serve the one who gave you this responsibility? You benefit from the sanctuary, but do you worship the Creator who protects it? In this command is both a correction and an invitation. Allah does not tell them to abandon the Kaaba or their role. Instead, He tells them to redirect their gratitude, to remember the true owner of the house they protect. Worship is not a burden. It is a natural response of a heart that recognizes blessings. The surah also exposes the psychology of ingratitude. When people are constantly surrounded by blessings, they stop noticing them. Safety becomes normal. Wealth becomes expected. Comfort becomes routine. And ingratitude slowly creeps in, not through rebellion, but through forgetfulness. The Quraysh enjoyed protection from hunger and fear, yet many of them lived as though these blessings were their right, not Allah's gift. This is why Allah reminds them of the two greatest blessings in their lives, the one who fed them against hunger and granted them security against fear. These are the foundations of a stable life: food and safety. Without them, no society can function. At the heart of Surah Quraysh is a message that is both a warning and a mercy. The warning is subtle yet powerful. If you forget the one who blesses you, those blessings can be taken away. History has shown this repeatedly. Wealthy nations collapse when arrogance replaces gratitude. Powerful people fall when they forget humility. Allah is telling Quraysh, do not let your gifts deceive you. They can disappear just as quickly as they came. But the surah is also filled with mercy. Rather than punishing them for their ingratitude, Allah invites them gently back to Him. He does not remind them of their sins. Instead, He reminds them of His mercy. He does not threaten them with destruction. Instead, He calls them to worship. He does not close the door. Instead, He opens it wider, giving them every reason to return. Surah Quraysh teaches that true security and true provision do not come from wealth, status, or intelligence. They come from Allah alone. And when a heart recognizes this truth, worship becomes not an obligation, but a natural expression of gratitude and love. Historical examples of Quraysh's arrogance. Despite being honored with blessings that no other tribe enjoyed, many among the Quraysh responded not with gratitude, but with arrogance, especially when a message of Islam was brought to them by Prophet Muhammad, a man from their own noble lineage. Instead of recognizing the truth, they allowed pride, status, and old customs to blind their hearts. One of the clearest signs of their arrogance was their treatment of the Prophet. They mocked him publicly, calling him a magician, a poet, or a madman, even though they knew he was the most truthful and trustworthy man in Makkah. They pressured him to abandon his message, offered him wealth, leadership, and marriage if he would only stop calling people to Allah. When persuasion failed, they turned to persecution. They threw stones at him, humiliated him during prayer, and plotted to silence him by force. Their arrogance made them deny a message they recognized as divine because they could not accept that a man from within their own tribe, without riches or worldly power, was chosen by Allah. Their misuse of status was another form of arrogance. The Quraysh believed that their noble lineage and their guardianship of the Kaaba made them superior to all other tribes. They imposed unfair rules, exploiting pilgrims and placing idols around the Kaaba to control religious practices. They acted as though the sanctuary belonged to them, not to Allah. Their pride grew so immense that they even claimed they were too honored to follow a prophet who walked among ordinary people. In their minds, revelation should come to a wealthy leader, not to Muhammad, who lived simply and humbly. There were also many specific events that exposed their pride and denial. When the Prophet recited the Quran, some Quraysh leaders stuffed their ears, shouting to drown out the message. When he invited them politely to accept Islam, they demanded miracles, not out of sincerity, but to mock him. Abu Jahl once stood at the door of the Kaaba and declared, "We compete with the tribe of Muhammad in everything, honor, wealth, and leadership. But now they claim they have a prophet? How can we accept this?" His words revealed the true disease in their hearts: envy and rivalry, not genuine doubt. When the prophet prayed near the Kaaba, they placed animal intestines on his back to degrade him. When the early Muslims gathered to recite Quran, the Quraysh tortured them, believing their power would suppress the truth. They even plotted to assassinate the prophet on the night of his migration to Medina, thinking they could maintain control by force. These actions reflected a deep arrogance born from privilege. The Quraysh could not accept guidance because it required humility, a trait their pride had suffocated. And this is why Surah Quraysh reminds them that their status was a gift, not an achievement, and that the one who is blessed the most is the one who must show the most gratitude. The surah's lesson for today. Surah Quraysh may have been revealed more than 1,400 years ago, but its lessons speak directly to our hearts today. In a world filled with distractions, anxieties, and endless desires, this short surah teaches us timeless principles that reshape how we see our lives, our blessings, and our relationship with Allah. One of its strongest messages is the importance of gratitude. Allah reminds the Quraysh of food when they were hungry and safety when they were surrounded by danger. These are blessings humans often take for granted, yet they are among the greatest gifts any person can have. Today, many of us live comfortably. We have homes, meals, and protection, yet we overlook these gifts because we are focused on what we don't have. Surah Quraysh teaches that gratitude is not about having everything, but about recognizing that every single thing we do comes from Allah. Gratitude softens the heart and brings peace to the soul. The surah also reminds us of reliance on Allah. Just as Allah protected Quraysh in ways they could never have imagined, He continues to protect us in countless unseen ways. We stress about jobs, money, people, and the future, forgetting that the one who fed the Quraysh and kept them safe is the same one who manages our affairs today. True reliance, tawakkul, means understanding that success doesn't come from luck, effort alone, or human planning. It comes from Allah's permission. Another essential lesson is the importance of recognizing blessings before they disappear. The Quraysh enjoyed prosperity, respect, and safety, but many of them only realized the value of these blessings once they were threatened. Similarly, people today often rediscover gratitude only after losing something: health, peace, relationships, opportunities. Surah Quraysh encourages us to open our eyes now, to value what Allah has already placed in our lives, and to avoid the trap of taking mercy for granted. At the heart of this surah is a reminder that worship is the path to true security. Allah tells Quraysh, "Worship the Lord of this house, the one who fed you and the one who protected you." Worship is not just prayer. It is anchoring the heart to the one who controls everything. When a person strengthens their relationship with Allah, they find a type of security that no money, fame, or power can provide. Worship fills the heart with stability, purpose, and protection, just as it did for the people of Quraysh. Finally, Surah Quraysh applies beautifully to modern life. We live in a fast-paced world where people chase wealth, recognition, and comfort, thinking these things will bring happiness. Yet the Quraysh had all of these, and still fell into arrogance and spiritual loss. The surah teaches us that blessings become a test when gratitude disappears, that success becomes dangerous when worship is neglected, and that life only makes sense when Allah is at the center of it. It reminds us that true prosperity is not measured by what we own, but by the peace and purpose that come from obeying our Creator. In every era, this surah calls us back to the basics. Be grateful, rely on Allah, recognize His blessings, and worship Him alone. When we do this, the heart finds the same safety and provision that Allah once gave the Quraysh. As you finish listening to the story behind Surah Quraysh, take a moment to pause and reflect on your own blessings. The food you eat, the roof above you, the safety you live in, the opportunities you have. None of these are accidental. They are signs of Allah's mercy, just as the Quraysh were blessed long before they ever realized it. Ask yourself, have I thanked Allah for the gifts I live with every day? Let this surah be more than knowledge. Let it be a reminder that gratitude is the key to a peaceful heart. I invite you to read or listen to Surah Quraysh every day, even if it takes only a few seconds. Let its message settle into your heart. Let it reshape how you see your life, your blessings, and your relationship with Allah. And if this message touched you, share it with someone who needs a reminder today. You never know whose heart might awaken through a single verse, a single story, or a single moment of reflection. May Allah make us among those who recognize His blessings, who remain grateful in times of ease and hardship, and who find true security in worshiping Him alone. Ameen. If you like this video and want to learn more about good ways to communicate with respect and kindness, then like this video to support the message. Subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Share this video with your loved ones so that together we can spread more kindness. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Tell me in comments what question has ever made you uncomfortable and how you'd like people to communicate with you. See you soon for a new video